Hello, good morning, happy holidays, all the things. Um, I hope this finds you well, and I hope you did have a good Thanksgiving holiday or little brief sort of respite in there. I always end up saying this to all my classes as though it needs to be pointed out, but the fall. This is one of the things about the fall term or the fall semester, depending on where you're at. It's by the time we arrive at the Thanksgiving holiday, it's everyone is so desperately ready for and in need of a break, and so it's wonderful in that regard because you get this little bit of time to do whatever you do with the time allowed. But it also cuts both ways, doesn't it? Because you get this nice, very, very quick taste of freedom and rest and some of the other things that are not terribly compatible with the insanity of the term. And you only get enough taste of it right before you're thrown directly back in to all of the chaos that is the final sprint to the finish line. So it's a little rough in that way, but at the end of the like we're all psychologists here, right? Something like that. So it's all about framing. So rather than framing it as this little teaser and oh my god, now I have to face the storm of finals and everything, think of it as all right. Got a little bit of freedom, a little bit of rest, and now we're ready to tackle the last couple of weeks here, which inevitably absolutely fly by. So provided we can kind of keep our heads in the games and our noses down and make our way through these next handfuls of days, then we get the bigger release and finally get out of things. So anyway, I'm saying this for me. Maybe you'll get something out of it too, but I'm just trying to sell myself on all this, if that's not obvious. Anyway, in that spirit, so coming into week 10, this is our last sort of week of classes, and then of course next week being finals week. So it's a good spot to take stock of where we've been, where we're at, where we're going, and try to be very precise and very clear about all of those things, so that we all feel on the same page and know what we're doing going into this last stretch. So just a few things that I wanted to capture quickly. Hopefully, a lot of this is simply review and some of that, but let's dive in. I never did send out an official message to all of you, but I am going to assume most, if not all of you, have noticed. So with the second midterm, great job. As always, the first one is always the hardest one in any class because you simply don't know what to anticipate and you're just kind of thrown into it. And despite the fact, as I've communicated, the style of this course and particularly the style of the examinations, not my cup of tea. I'm sure it's not yours either. But all that being said, great job on this second one, and you should see, despite the fact that I didn't get the message out, that I did go into each and every one of yours and did bump up points there. So you should see that kind of under, I think they call it fudge points or something. It's all very apropos of the holiday. With that exam. So that should be in there. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and take a look. In addition to that, so now we're done with the traditional midterms, right? Though that piece is behind us. In terms of this last chunk, then I'll come to the final here in a moment, but I did want to once again mention, you've hopefully noticed that there are the extra credit questions that are available, and that those, if you look at them, they're just profoundly open-ended, right? These are not they're not quizzes, they're not some essay where you've got to make sure you get these bold-faced terms and all this sort of thing. I mean, they're just very open-ended, reflective sorts of questions about, it doesn't seem that long ago, at least not to me, the first week when I was sending out a video and talking about what is this nebulous ass thing called personality, and we all have ideas about it, we all talk about it, and we all showed up at the front end of this class. And now we have a whole bunch of weeks, months behind us, chapters and quizzes and all manner of things where we've really spent a lot of time here. So they're just a nice opportunity to kind of look now retrospectively on things that we've covered, conversations we've had, tests and measures and things that have been used, all manner of things. And at the end of the day, what I guess I'm trying to say is they should be very not stressful. There aren't right and wrong answers to them, unless you're like you mistakenly put your organic chemistry answers in there or something like that. Outside of that, they're pretty hard to mess up. So in addition to that, then, so we're done with the midterms. We have that extra credit available. Great, blah, blah, blah. Final. Now, I hope, I'm going to assume most all of you have seen the message that I sent out. It must have been last week, as we were kind of moving into this midterm. And so the final, being the one that I said on day one, don't stress out, but yes, it's an essay formatted final exam. It's worth 40 points. But if you saw the previous message that I sent out to you, you will know then that with this last one, we are not going to have it be proctored. So I'm pulling the whole Proctorio thing off of it. There'll be no monitoring or Big Brother-ish sorts of things going on. I have to put a cap on the time, but the time is going to be, like hour and a half, 2 hours, way more than probably anybody should need. And then lastly, with pulling the proctoring and with everything else, the intention is you can simply have the resources that you want available to you. That is, you can have the book, you can have your notes, you can have the World Wide Web. And then most importantly, as I alluded to in that previous message as well, you can also have the write-ups that come associated strictly for and geared towards that final exam. So if you remember from that message, then if you go down through all the modules, you'll find one of the modules that is the series of readings for the finals week information, where here is a write-up that dives into not just Freud's like theories and the stuff that we sort of covered throughout the term, but here's a bit about Freud himself, kind of placed as the person in his time, his geography, his sociocultural milieu, and sort of where some of those ideas kind of came from, what the implications were and what those looked like. Same for Maslow, same for Rogers, same for a number of these other people that we've spent a lot of time with. And so what you're going to find when you do sit down during finals week to take that, you're going to be presented with 2 short answer essay questions, and each one of those you'll be profoundly unsurprised to see what they're asking about. They're going to be asking about these individuals and some of the specifics associated with, well, exactly the kind of stuff that you're reading in those readings. So, not to make it a little too on the nose, but I guess we're just making it real on the nose. So that should hopefully take a lot of the anxiety, stress, things like that surrounding the final out of the equation, and in fact should do quite the opposite, which should hopefully make you feel extraordinarily confident and comfortable, and that knowing what to expect going into that, and that you do have all those things available to you. So I hope that helps, and I hope it makes sense as I've gone through all this stuff. Of course, it will be available throughout the week, so I will have it up. It's not a certain day, certain time slot kind of thing. So just like the others, you'll know what your schedule is like and what makes the most sense. But of course, with them being essays and with the deluge of exams and papers and finals and projects and everything else that is coming in from all of my various courses, I'll be trying to get on those as absolutely quickly as possible. But of course, essays take a little bit more time, and then as they are one constituent of the mountain of things, so I'll be getting on them as absolutely quickly as I possibly can. In that same vein, and the last thing, and then I swear to God I'll leave you alone here, is just to revisit the other components of the course. So we talked about the midterms, we've now talked about the final, we talked about the extra credit. So looking toward the other pieces, which at this stage basically are the quizzes that came associated with each of the modules, each of the weeks and the sections that we went through. I know most of you and most all of those are all done, taken care of, everything like that. But we are at the point now. So this is week 10. We're going in through next week. So we have these handfuls of days left. Um, Absolutely go back in, take a look at your own grades, your own grade book, and the points and everything that is in there. I mean, I will be doing that, of course, but it's a hell of a lot better quality control, for instance, for you to go in, look through your grade book and see, oh, I don't have a grade for the chapter 8 quiz or something like that, but I swear I did that, or I thought I did it, or whatever. And I mean, then you have the opportunity to go in and address that, because as I go in next week for, final grades and all of that, and I start pulling everything together, if I see chapter 8 for you and there's no score in there, I have no other interpretation other than they didn't take that quiz. And so all those things that currently are sitting there with like a little blank spot, just a little dash in the middle of it, anything that, of course, doesn't have any work as I go into the final portion of the course will end up with a 0 in it if there's nothing there. And the only reason I point that out, I know it's pretty obvious, but if you're just kind of looking at the end point of this is my grade in the course as it sits now, and say you're missing like 5 quizzes from throughout the term with no score in them, that calculation then that says what your grade is isn't calculating 0, 0, 0, 0. It's just calculating we're still waiting on points from that. So here's the score from what we do have. So I say it for what it's worth, because without fail, there will be people at the end of the term who didn't do discussion forums or didn't do this or didn't do that and think that they're sitting pretty good, and then I start to plug in the zeros for the work that isn't there, and their grade goes from what they thought it was down heavily. So try to prevent that insofar as we can. As far as the quizzes go, I mean, do those. I try to wait until the last possible minute to put in grades. So you have until the end of finals week basically to wrap those up. And then as far as discussion forums go, you've maybe noticed I've been giving feedback and I'm giving the points and doing the stuff, but I try to leave some buffer within there, leave some space. So I keep myself, a little ways back from where you technically should be working, right? So we're going into week 10 now. So most of my feedback, I can't remember if I'm exactly what week I'm up to, 7 or 8, something like that. But I'm trying to provide a little cushion in there. But of course, in the coming days, I'm going to have to make my way through the rest of those so that they're wrapped up as well. So if those things are still hanging out there too, that would be something to address definitely sooner rather than later. Okay. I'm already up. I'm almost on the cusp of 15 minutes here. So thank you for listening to this, if indeed you did. And I hope that it helps to try and, kind of wrap this up a little bit. We're not quite tying the bow on it, but we're damn close. So if you do, of course, as always, have any questions, anything, let me know. You know where to find me. As I've been saying in my other messages to my other classes too. I try to be very on top of my stuff, on top of email and messages and everything else going. But this fall and this term has been particularly crazy and kind of chaotic. And so while I'm trying to be extraordinarily on top of things and communicative and all of those sorts of things, I have no doubt that there are places where I've inadvertently dropped the ball. If you had not heard back from me on something, or if you had a question or there was a message or something like that, basically what I'm saying, don't be bashful about giving me a pretty healthy poke if somehow those things slipped through the cracks. It's absolutely unintentional, but unfortunately I'm almost like a human, mostly human, and those human fallibilities, they occur. So I feel bad because I never want to miss messages or leave anything hanging out there. So yeah, please just don't be hesitant to let me know if there's something missing or if you need anything. So, okay, enough of all this. I'm going to shut up, let you guys go. I hope you are well. Here's to the sprint to the finish. We're gonna make it. And so, keep it up. and I'll be in touch as we make our way through. All right, take care, all. Cheers.